following video is brought to you by Burning Oak Studios.
Welcome to ArtSee Live. My name is Benjamin Farrell and I'm here with Jennifer Dasal of the North Carolina Museum of Art. She's a curatorial assistant and the curator of the Fins and Feathers exhibition. Jennifer, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, we're all really excited about the renovations that have been done to the East Building. Can you tell us about the renovations and how has that changed since we've last seen it?
I can. We're very excited. We are reopening our East Building on November 7th. It's been closed for a little while so that we could prepare for the renovations. And the number one thing that I think that visitors will find that's different about our East Building is that we've increased our exhibition space by 50%, which is quite substantial. And what this mainly means is that now, instead of having just one exhibition on once, we now are able to open 5 exhibitions concurrently. So visitors will be able to see a very dynamic, very active space and experience a lot of art in just one space.
Well, speaking of all that extra space, the new issue of ArtSee magazine has a story this month on the Norman Rockwell exhibition. Can you tell us about that? It's opening November 7th?
It is opening November 7th, yes. The exhibition is called American Chronicles, The Art of Norman Rockwell, and it features 40 original paintings by Norman Rockwell and over 300 original Saturday Evening Post covers. The Norman Rockwell Museum, based in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, organized this exhibition, and the North Carolina Museum of Art is actually the only North Carolina stop for this exhibition. And this is a really interesting show because visitors will be able to see the full range of Norman Rockwell's career, beginning with his Saturday Evening Post experience and merging all the way through his later career with Look magazine, and also some very interesting, very startling works that he created in the 1960s during the Civil Rights era, such as Murder in Mississippi, his very iconic painting called The Problem We All Live With. So it's very interesting. I think people who may or may not be familiar with Norman Rockwell will really get a full expanse of his career.
Can you tell us about the North Carolina artist Bob Trotman exhibition?
Bob Trotman is a North Carolina sculptor based out of Cesar, North Carolina, and this exhibition is going to be the inaugural exhibition of the North Carolina Gallery, which is a permanent space, and it will be rotated out twice a year. We will have solo exhibitions by artists and then also more thematic exhibitions. So visitors will always have a permanent space to see North Carolina art. And Bob Trotman's show, Inverted Utopias, will feature 20 different figurative sculptures, and at first glance, they appear as if they might be characters who just stepped out of a Norman Rockwell painting. We have some very prim businessmen and housewives, but once you look a little bit closer, you see that something isn't quite right. We have figures who are falling through the floor, people who are flying from the ceiling, people literally coming across apart at the seams. So it's really anti-Rockwellian when you think about it. Norman Rockwell once famously said that he painted characters and people as he hoped that life would be. Bob Trotman does the opposite. He paints life as sometimes it really is, which is humorous, which is dark, which is sometimes very, very unsettling.
Wow. Now, your job down there, one thing that you have done, you curated the Fins and Feathers exhibition. So tell us a little bit about that.
I'm happy to. Fins and Feathers is an original children's book illustrations exhibition that comes to us from the Eric Carle Museum of Picture Book Art, which is based in Amherst. And this exhibition is very, very exciting because it's one of the opportunities for us to really dedicate ourselves to our youngest audiences, which is children. This is the only exhibition opening this fall that is geared specifically towards families, and there are 33 different works that we are representing here. Many of them are from big names like Eric Carle himself, who might be familiar to some of the audience as the author and illustrator for The Very Hungry Caterpillar. We also have a person named Leo Leone, who might be familiar to some parents who are reading his books to their children. We also have some artists who are amazing and highly regarded for their work, but the viewers who come to the exhibition may not have heard of them. One of them is Ashley Bryan, who is a Coretta Scott King Literary Award winner. His works have been praised for many, many years. He's inspired by African folk tales, Nigerian folk tales in particular, and he's created works introducing these new tales to American children, and he does so in a manner that's highly bright, very, very lively, and reminiscent of Matisse's artwork in that he creates paper cutouts of his images. But this exhibition is really interesting for us because Children's book illustrations are not always what you would see in an art museum, but they're a very interesting, very important way to represent art and to present it to children. Sometimes children's books are the first aesthetic experience that a child has, and that can develop into a lifelong love of art.
The Ben Daw exhibition has something new for a lot of us, which are chlorophyll prints. So for those of us out here who are not familiar with how that process is done and what that looks like, can you tell us about those?
I can. Ben Daw is a Vietnamese-American photographer, and he innovated this chlorophyll print process. It's very interesting. What happens is he begins by picking a very green leaf, usually even sometimes from his mother's garden, and then he sets it aside, and upon that he places a negative. Usually he makes his own negatives. He scans images into his computer that he has either shot or found in a magazine, and then from that he creates his own negatives. Once he interlies the negative on top of the green leaf, he then places a piece of glass on top of it, sets everything on a piece of black felt, and then lays it out in the sun, sometimes for a number of days. Then the chlorophyll process actually burns the positive image of that negative on top of the leaf. So the image is on the leaf itself. It's really interesting. And sometimes it's a little bit of a hit and miss. He can do this many, many days and not come up with the exact effect that he's looking for. But once the desired effect is achieved, then he embraces everything in a little encasement of resin so that the image cannot break down, the leaf can't biodegrade.
And finally, there's one more show opening, which is the John James Audubon exhibition. And now this is a collection of plates, North Carolina plates, is that correct?
Yes.
It's Birds of America?
Yes, that's right. The Birds of America is actually one of the treasures of the North Carolina Museum of Art, and actually of the state of North Carolina. Many people aren't that familiar with them, and they've actually been in the collection of the state of North Carolina since 1948, which was only 3 years before John James Audubon's death. He died in 1851. The Birds of America is a 4-volume set of 435 prints that John James Audubon hand-painted and then printed, representing all of the various species of the birds of America. He wasn't the first artist to do so, but he was the artist who actually made images of these birds in their natural habitat, represented in a very new, very lively way. And I think that viewers will really enjoy seeing them because we have a gallery that's been dedicated specifically to the Birds of America. And for the first time since we've acquired these images, we're able to show them in their entirety. They've been fully restored, and then they are going to be housed in all new cases that have been designed for them with hydraulic lifts so that our art handlers can go in more frequently and switch the pages so that viewers will be able to see the prints more fully, more frequently.
That sounds great. Sounds great. Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. You have certainly helped me understand a little bit what's going on down there at the North Carolina Museum of Art, and all of us who have been waiting for this little period during the renovations, we're so excited to be down there, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
All right, thank you. Thank you to all our viewers for checking in. More information about the North Carolina Museum of Art is available at ncartmuseum.org, and more information about our distribution list and having a subscription delivered right to your door is available at artseemagazine.com. Thank you.